the beginning of the lecture given on June 3rd.
Last night I explained Li and Ji, and usual person stick to Ji. That is quite, usual. And the characteristic of a Buddhist, Buddha's teaching is to go beyond things. Things means the various being and various idea we have. When we go beyond subjective and objective world, which is Ji, we come to the understanding oneness of everything, oneness of subjectivity and objectivity, oneness of inside and outside. For instance, if you sit, zazen, you are not thinking anything, you are not watching anything. Your focus is, 4 feet, 5 feet ahead. But actually, we are not watching anything. Just focus is there, but we don't watch anything. Even though many ideas come, we do not think, It comes in and goes out, that's all. We do not entertain various ideas, We do not serve food or anything, If they come in, okay. And if they go out, okay. That's all. That is that. When we are in that condition, in this kind of mind, when we have this kind of mind, our mind actually, include everything. Even though you do not try to include, everything, actually, everything is in your mind. And right now, I'm thinking about why I became a priest. My father was a priest, and his temple was quite not small, but very poor. My father was born, most temples, Buddhist temple, destroyed, and the property which belonged to various Buddhist temple was offered to shrine, Shinto shrine. The policy of government at that time, how to make Buddhism weaker and how to make Shinto powerful as a national religion. Buddhists at that time suffered a lot, directly or indirectly. Until I understand this kind of history or policy of Meiji government, I was rather angry with people, at least who treated me so badly. As I couldn't have usual life as my friend had, naturally, my friend sometimes making fun of me. My life at school was not so happy. I would rather to stay in classroom and then play with my friend in schoolyard. And that is the time when I made up my mind to be a priest again. you know. But, not the usual priest. I wanted to be an unusual priest, to tell them what is Buddhism and what is the truth. And my teacher would tell me how to be a great man. Unless we have difficult time, no one can be a great man. He said, if you want to be successful, you should go out of this state or prefecture. I decided to leave my home. And I was thinking about where should I go. But once in a while, a priest, my father's disciple, would visit my father. So I know him pretty well. And I liked him. So I asked him, to take me to his temple. And he said yes. I went to my master's temple when I was 13 at my teacher's temple. I was encouraged. So I think I was lucky. That is the reason why I became priest. And this reason also is the reason why I came to America. The other day I explained what is sound. Sound is different from noise. Sound is, something which comes out more real and which comes out from your practice is sound. Noise is something more objective, something, which will bother you, The noise is more objective being. The sound is both objective and subjective. So, if you hit drum, the sound you make is, sound of your own subjective practice. And it is also the sound which encourages, all of us. So sound is subjective and objective. Buddhists understand every noise as a sound which we make. You may say the bird is singing there, over there. But we think, bird, when we hear the bird is me, already. Actually, I am not listening to bird. Bird is here, in my mind already. And I am singing with bird. Pee, pee, pee. If you think when you are reading something, if you think bird is there, blue jay is over my roof. Blue jay is singing, but their voice is not so good. When you think in that way, that is noise. When you are not disturbed by the blue jay, the blue jay will come right into your heart, and you will be a blue jay, and blue jay will reading something. Then the blue jay doesn't disturb your reading because you think blue jay is there. Blue jays should not be over my roof. When you think in that way, that is more primitive understanding of being. Why we understand things in that way is because of want of practice. When you practice Zazen more, you can accept things as your own, whatever it is.
The longer you practice Zen, I think the less you know what it's about, and the less you know what you're doing, in a sense that you can verbalize it or answer some question coherently. If you ask most students here, what's Zen, they'll kind of laugh at you. It's like a palace with so many rooms, and you're in one room, and then you're in another room, and you can't describe that palace with all of those rooms in it. Or it's like a jewel with many sides. And as you practice through the cold of the winter and through the part of the summer when there are flies, you're always in a different room. But the variety of experience that comes in the total simplicity of this way of life is astounding. Our practice at Tassajara and Suzuki Roshi's practice is not based on attainment. It's based on living totally in each moment, of giving life to your life situation at each moment. And not really even at each moment, because that becomes some kind of plan that you set for yourself. But more simply in this moment, in living in this moment. And the only time that you ever are is now. And the only place that you ever are is here. And what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? With the person that you meet, with the eating bowls as you open them in the morning, with the bread as you're kneading it, it either is alive or it's not. And to live totally in that one moment, the only moment that you ever live in, is the emphasis in our practice. And any notion that you have of searching takes you out of that moment. And any notion that you have of something that you're going to attain in the future only takes you out of that moment. Some people ask, well, you know, if there's nothing to attain, then why are you practicing? What's the purpose of sitting zazen, of getting up at 3:45 in the middle of the winter with no heat in the morning? And, you know, like, there's no answer to that question. But here we are, you know, and we're doing it.
It's like I got into Zen without even being aware of it. You know, it was like before I knew it, it had taken my life. A lot of people, when they start sitting, are very hesitant. You know, it takes them a long time to get into it. You know, you come and then you go away for a while and you come back. But
How did you get into it?
well, I read a book, and then I came to San Francisco, and I started sitting, and that was it. You know, I met Roshi, and as soon as I could, I came to Takahara, and I've been here ever since.
If we try to listen to something wonderful, it means that to ignore the word which we are listening now. You know, when you think Buddha said something wonderful, and I must find out what he meant, then your mind is directed to Buddha's words, so you don't hear the words. So always we sacrifice various actual reality because we stick to something. And we stick to something which looks like very good, but that is not so good. If we have this kind of attitude when we listen to words or teaching even, we will lose our life. And maybe our whole life will be sacrificed. Because of some special teaching. So our way is rather to enjoy, our life right now without sacrificing. This is a kind of desire, which human being has. To some extent, desires.
Which is able to relieve all suffering and
And this first sentence, Monmon Issai no Kyo, this is rhetorical, words. Monmon means gates. Gates means our eyes or nose or ears. All those sense organs, 5 sense organs are gates. And for the gates, there are sense object. For eyes, something color to see. For the ear, something to hear. Some voice to hear. Some smell to smell for the nose. Something to taste, for our tongue. In this way, 6 sense organs has 5 sense organs have 5 sense objects. This is, our Buddhist common sense, The purpose of, referring to this, to those things is just to say everything, instead of saying everything. We say Monmon Issai no Kyo. Monmon is gates. There's many gates, and to the gates there's many sense objects. All those things are interrelated, and at the same time they are independent. Monmon Issai no Kyo.
One of the persons that's marvelous, he picked up a book in New York, a paperback book off a counter, and it was on Zen. And he'd gone to Harvard and things like that, but basically just was living in the city, not doing anything special, And he found this book on Buddhism, which he read, standing in a drugstore. And he thought, this, really sounds like right. So he thought that the place where the Buddhism most likely would be San Francisco. So he came to San Francisco. And then for some 6, 7, 8 months, he beat the streets of San Francisco regularly, wondering, because there's nothing listed under Zen in the phone book. And he walked by one place one day, and he got past it, and he said, didn't I? And he saw Zen Soto Mission. He turned around, looked back, and said, Zen Soto Mission. He went in, and Suzuki Roshi was there, and various people found him in this kind of way. One just walked in,
you have to buy a very expensive ticket,
Yes, I know.
which we cannot afford to buy.
A poor Zen student can't afford to go to no play or kabuki. While I'm in Japan, is there anything special you want me to do?
First of all, you have to study, I think, Japanese language, and then you will study many things. And
no one wanted to have a group, but Zen Center started about a little after Roshi came, but Suzuki Roshi came in about 1958. So in the Japanese congregations building on Bush Street, we meditated every morning and evening with Roshi. He just said to the first land that I'd seen Suzuki Roshi ever really excited about. We bought 160 acres there, which is surrounded by national forest, which is one of the great things about it. It's a 350,000 acre national forest, and there's a few islands of private homestead land left, and we bought one of them. And it also was an old carriage trade resort in the 1880s, 90s, and early.
not this. Are you going to hit the horn?
Yeah.
Afterwards, you're going to hit the horn?
I don't know. Whatever is usually done, I guess.
First person usually runs it, but we thought you were going to do it.
Yeah, whatever you want to do. Now, you can hit the horn if you want. Govinda, in his autobiography, says that he had to choose between the inner world and the outer world.
Mm-hmm.
And that if you chose the inner world, not just dreams, but the whole inner experiences, then the outer world would become like the inner world, would become much more real.
Actually, there's no inside or outside.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you think, outside is
From about
you are
May through September, we have guests coming down, and a number of them, the kind of people who are really interested in the Buddhist life and what we're doing. One of them is Maud Oakes, who is an anthropologist and has lived with the Indians in Peru or Guatemala.
But now when you meditate, you go inside, don't you?
not inside or outside, just open.
Yes, I see. This book that I'm reading that I told you, the man says that on his path in life, he's searching for love. And if he finds love, why, he's found everything. I don't know if that's his Zen point of view. Is it?
My motivation is not so much, even really at the deepest level, is not religion or something like that,
No.
but is love for certain friends or my wife or Suzuki Roshi.
Well, I
And
think he means that.
If he asks me to do something, I have to do it because of affection, not because of religion.
Yes.
I have no choice.
Well, I think, yeah.
I don't know about Buddhism. I know about affection more than Buddhism.
Well, so whatever you do, for instance, if you're fixing a bridge or something like that, and the Roshi's asked you to do it, you do it for the Roshi, not for the bridge.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any difference. He's a bridge sometimes.
I'm sure
Sometimes
you're
a
a bridge
stone.
between the two worlds. Will you have some more tea?
Oh, thank you very much.
Well, the first time I came as an invited guest last year, I was amazed at what you had accomplished already, because I'd been here before you moved in. But now, when I see the kitchen being built, and that I'm a guest again, I want to tell you what pleasure it gives me.
Thank you very much. They are working very hard.
Oh, yes. I watched this morning the fitting the rock,
Yes.
and then taking it down, and then putting the cement, and then putting it back again. It was very interesting.
Yes.
And then I noticed that girl chipping the rock.
Oh, yes.
That's a lot
She
of
is
work
very
for a
good.
girl.
Yeah.
What is she?
Relaxing.
What is she making? Is she just shaping the rocks for the
For the
stonemason?
cornerstone.
Oh, for the
Yeah.
cornerstone.
Cornerstone.
I didn't know what she was doing myself.
I didn't know either. But she's doing a good job. I've loved rocks ever since I was little.
Mm-hmm.
And wherever I'd go, I'd pick up rocks and bring them home. And
Oh.
finally, the closet in my bedroom was just filled. And my mother told me that this had to stop.
Yes, when I left college and went to in the Merchant Marine to Africa and places,
Yes.
I came back, and all of my stuff had been thrown away except one big box of rocks that all my roommates had kept for me, knowing that that was the most precious.
Yes.
I said this morning, you're the only person it can be said of positively that you have rocks in your head.
So you still need many more stones for garden thing, Roshi.
Oh, if it is good, that's all.
Yeah. What about
They
this?
may use it.
Too big for the wall.
Yeah.
Dennis, did you give me a hand in setting this?
And you put
thing.
What I wanted to ask you was whether or not you plan to go to heaven. For heaven's sake, yes. And what's that mean to you? What does that mean? In Christian terms, it means ultimate union with God. And in Buddhist terms, it means union with ultimate reality. But there's a little teeny fat called death that gets in between those two concepts. Oh. Of course, some Buddhists believe that that nirvana is some sort of state after death, but Roshi doesn't. He believes that nirvana is right here and now.
Well, in a very real sense, the Christian who lives in union with God is also in heaven here and now, and his death is rather relatively insignificant. I think that you can say that.
Really? This summer, a Benedictine monk named Brother David, who has been studying with a Zen group in New York, has permission from his abbot to do that. And with Thomas Merton are the two Catholic monks, I think, most interested in Buddhism in this country.
Recitation of the sutra and so forth. And they are surprised. They take it in a stride, but they are surprised.
No, it's so extraordinary. It's just so much that they're just totally taken back by it. There's just too much to even think about fighting in a way.
Yeah.
But also the fact that they do hate forms makes them very, makes Americans exceptionally open to different possibilities. I mean, they can try out anything. Because they've always lived in a sort of formless time, and as someone mentioned yesterday, Americans are always looking for a sort of instant tradition. So every time they see a new one come up, that they'll try it, but it remains to see whether it'll work after a year or two, like you said, you just can't tell. Yesterday we talked about how rigid people are about being non-rigid, young people are. But this is new. Americans have always had a really fear of any kind of ritual. So they really hate ritual. So the minute you bring up ritual, they really want to back away. But I think that because of this reason, they find a great need. I know I spent a long time studying anthropology, and I studied mostly ceremonies and celebrations. But I liked them. I was studying mostly pre-Christian, because when it got symbolic, I wasn't too interested in it. I was interested more in natural rituals. And I sort of had a search for a kind of ritual. And so it's very, very easy for me to accept. Ritual has, if it becomes conformity, dies. But if it stands to point out what the act is and how it operates, so that you can become totally involved in the act, then that act becomes sacred.
How do you think this place is going to develop? I see really two elements here. On the one hand, there is the strictly monastic element. On the one hand, it's a real monastery with celibate monks and so forth. And on the other hand, you do have married couples living here and even partly children and so forth. Do you think that one of these two trends will eventually take over?
Well, as you well know, I just don't know.
I don't well know that.
I think that people who are religious, in a strange sense of the word, would prefer neither living a total secular life out in the world, nor living one that is totally monastic. I think that a community of families with a school and their own ways of raising food, but one that is not isolated.
In other words, that Buddhist kibbutz, doesn't it?
Yes, but we don't have to use machine guns on our tractors.
But it's very interesting because in the Christian sense too, the monasticism has been really defined as a nostalgia for the early Christian community, for exactly that, families sharing everything and living a more religious life than society at large.
I'm saying that the two extremes of politics, the commune way and the anarchistic way, really meet. You have a large spiritual family living together, but one that has no feeling of superiority or really of difference, but just that there are many different ways, and these people have picked this way.
Do you think then that this is sort of a pattern for a new development in this country of Buddhism? And do you think that there are some possibilities of cooperating with other monastic traditions, like with the Benedictine traditions, right near here, just a few miles or so?
I've been here a year, and that would be like asking a freshman in college if he thinks the universities have a chance in this world.
Yeah.
When you look at the very slight difference between our two different communities and our different ways, and people who are killing for my country, right or wrong, around the world, I mean, they're almost exactly alike.
In this sense, then, monasticism would really have a very important mission in the world, right? Because there are monks both in the East and the West, and just by the way that they speak the same language, there is a bridge already existing, and all we need to do is use it, and use it for peace and for communication.
Yes, I think that we're all getting together, and I think that as you come east, I may also return west.
I hope so. Well, it means a lot to me. Of course, our life as Benedictines is completely impregnated with ritual too, but you get used to it, and here for me this is something new, so I experience it as something new. And the meals, for instance, this highly ritualized meal, or the bath with the ritual vows and all that, carries over to other parts of the daily life, and it makes me more aware of what's going on. It increases your awareness.
I mean, people, after they eat our way for some time, they begin to realize how their teeth meet and how they swallow. And if you stop eating and close your eyes and listen to the rest of the people eat, it's an enormous field of locusts, of all different kinds of bugs going, and it's very, very silent, but you can hear it all, you know.
Well,
and then you become much more aware.
But I guess even if you don't do that, it's very beautiful to have these three bowls and every day different things in the three bowls.
But I really feel bad when I can't eat Nintendo.
Yeah, I understand that.
Well, if you could take something like the washing your face in the morning, that ritual, and heighten it in some way, so that it really became opened you up to the whole sense of a morning and the day beginning and the cleaning, washing yourself for the new day. If that sense could be there, then you would be like more in the area of religion, is how do you take the ordinary rituals of our life anyway and intensify them in such a way that deepens our perception of reality, deepens our participation in reality. We get up in the morning about after what would be a necessary sleep. Too little sleep, a little less sleep than you need. Your mind's a little clearer. Doesn't burn off so much excess sleep or something during the day. And so we get up fairly early, about usually around 4:40, I think. Meditation at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then followed by, depending on whether it's a practice period or guest season, followed by another period of zazen or a study period, and then breakfast. And then, again, depending on whether it's practice period or guest season, we have a lecture or work period. And then meditation before lunch, and then lunch, and then work during the afternoon, and then bath at the end of the afternoon, before an evening meal, and then a sort of break of about an hour, and then lecture or meditation, and meditation before we go to bed. We go to bed about 10 o'clock.
Buddha said, you should not sleep, You should not sleep. And he says, But if you become really sleepy, you should sleep. But before you, when you are not sleepy physically, if you sleep, you should be ashamed of yourself. It is very difficult thing to overcome sleepiness. Hunger is not so bad. Even though you don't eat 2-3 days, it's all right. But if you do not sleep, even for one night, you feel terrible. And I think this is more deeper and original and essential instinct for us. So to confront with it means to confront with your true nature, how you feel when you are sleeping, and how you feel when you are hungry, how you feel when you are thirsty. This kind of experience is very important.
Near the end of a sesshin, Suzuki Roshi at a lecture announced, it was late evening and rather dark, and said that a student in the sesshin had just become enlightened and didn't know it, but he would eventually find out.
And 力ざれば or else, or else it stand, it dwell, or it stay in its own position. This is position. According to the this is rely on, or according to the position they stay. So it means if the bird stay at some place, at some lake, for instance, his form is not only lake, but also whole world is his home. That is how a bird flies and lives in their world. Even though you don't attain enlightenment, you have enlightenment, we say. No, that enlightenment means live. That something exists here means something, has already some reason why it exists here. And because of that reason, it makes sense, some sense. I don't know what sense. No one knows. But there must be some reason. And, everything must have some virtue for itself. And it is, very strange that everything has, no things are same, One is different from others. So there's nothing to compare, with you. So you have your own value. And that value, is not comparative value or exchange value. It is, that value is something more than that. So just when you are just on the cushion, you have your own value. And that value, because that value is related to everything. So that value is also absolute value. Maybe better not to say too much.